corporate income tax is being considered as the more material tax that companies are paying, and all attention and efforts is focused on compliance, filing your tax return and doing reporting in the annual financial statements. But if you take a global view on this and looking at contributions of the different tax types to the fiscus, then your other taxes make up a very significant portion of what's considered your total tax contribution, which is taxes borne and taxes paid by corporations. So in communicating or articulating the tax situation or the tax position of a company, one needs to look at all the taxes to actually have a complete or accurate picture on what it is that the company actually contributed to the fiscus or the jurisdiction in which they operate. The one good thing coming out of the tax scandal is that maybe the information that we report into the market through the financial or integrated report is not the right information for the user or the public in that regard to actually make the correct assumptions and have the correct perception of what it is that the company contributes to that particular society. What we have had up until now is there hasn't been a skill set in one role player that will allow the company to provide the monitoring and testing and assurance on their tax affairs, because your tax people are very technically focused, so generally they don't wear a risk and control hat, whereas your internal auditor or your risk manager who do wear the control hat, they're not tax technically inclined. So there's been a gap. What we're trying to do with the Tax Risk Assurance Roundtable is actually fill that gap. You need to be in a situation where you actually have a strategic intent around tax, so there needs to be a strategy aligned to the business. Tax needs to be fully integrated into your business, number two, and you need to be able to articulate on what it is that you've done around tax, how you've managed your risks, that you have controls in place, and of course on your compliance situation. And in order to do this, there's a big element of monitoring and testing and insurance that's involved. South Africa in general is quite good at corporate governance. We lead the market. If you look at our code, it's best in class, and if you look at the sentiment with our bigger organizations, they all strive to be good citizens or have good or effective corporate governance in place. The problem that we just have on the tax side is tax doesn't always form part of that process because it's seen as a compliance issue which is dealt with when you file the tax return. But where we're moving now is providing companies with a framework or guidance to assist them in bringing tax onto the corporate governance agenda and assisting them in that process.